How do we as individuals make a difference? And it's always going to be through others. Everything I find about church is that being the vehicle that empowers you to do things that you wouldn't do otherwise. I can tell you a story. The vitriol over immigration rights was just starting. It was like 2006, 2007. And the day workers were protesting at a store, a furniture store somewhere in here, down in Phoenix. And I decided one Saturday morning to go down there. And I drove down to the big box store, parked my car, and I started to walk across the street. And I saw all these men and women with red, white, and blue, bullhorns, motorcycles, screaming and yelling at the few migrant workers and their supporters across the street. And I got halfway across the street, and I turned around and walked back to my car. And I'm about ready to get in my car, and I hear a voice say, "Oh, Zemblage, so this is how you show support for the distressed body of Christ. You turn and run." And I go, "Oh, wow, no it's not." And I turn and I walk back across the street into the day worker's site. And just then my friend Chris Fleischman comes up from Pax Christi. He's got this big sign, 2 feet by 4 feet. It says, "Behold an immigrant." And in the middle is this baby in the creche. And the elected official comes by in his uniform, and he looks at me and he says, "Nah," and shook his hand. I said, yes, we can do better than this. I think Mother Teresa said it, the fruit of silence is prayer, the fruit of prayer is faith, the fruit of faith is love, the fruit of love is service, and the fruit of service is peace.
"2 years and 1 day after we got married, we found out we were pregnant. I was in sales, and I had a big job and gave presentations, and about mid-pregnancy, it became difficult for me to pronounce certain words.
It became extremely difficult, to the point where one day she called me from work and said, "My customers can't understand me." And one day she said she had to spell out words to people, so you could tell how tough it was for her.
I felt lost. I felt lost in who I was, and I felt lost really in my faith too, because I didn't know what this was happening to me. So it was pretty scary time, dark times.
We went to about 1 million neurologists to find out what the problem was. After a number of misdiagnoses, the correct diagnosis was focal lingual dystonia. We exhausted every treatment over the years. People in her family were connected with Knights of Malta, and through them, they accepted Maria as a Malad to go to Lourdes. She came back rejuvenated. You could tell something happened. So spiritually, there was a big uplift in her life.
I think for me, being in Lourdes and being around so many people that were believers, you couldn't help but know that God was there for you. You know, I clearly didn't come back healed from my dystonia, but I came back healed in my soul, my gut, my heart. I guess I'm gonna say the prayer never left me, but it became easier as I got better to feel like I was being taken care of.
My mother died about 12 years ago, and I was pretty devastated after she passed away, and I'd never had that kind of loss in my life before. And it had me question a lot of things, like what's my life really for? So I really saw what was missing in my life, like I really wasn't tending to my spiritual life up to that point. And it was the beginning of something new for me. And it wasn't something that I ever expected to be a pathway back to my faith, but it really opened the doors for me. And it was so great, because when Jeff called me, he called and he said, you know, I'm calling from the RCIA and I wanted to talk to you about the program. And I'm thinking I would actually do the program. Like, I didn't even realize really what it was. And he said, well, you're already Catholic. He's like, you could sponsor someone. And we had the most extraordinary conversation, because my first reaction was, how could I sponsor someone? I don't know where I am on this path. And by the end of it, I saw that God put this in my path for a reason. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I realized that for someone that was beginning their journey, that although I was just re-engaging in mine, it was really an opportunity for me to deepen my spiritual faith. And the woman I got to sponsor, she was just an absolute joy. And her childlike enthusiasm to embrace her faith was just inspiring and contagious, and it actually lit me up that much more about the Catholic faith. And so I think that was probably the thing I most got out of it, was like I started really understanding it as an adult. And the beautiful thing is, that I didn't share about earlier, is that, you know, my dad is very engaged in the church now as well, and it's something that we can share again, that for many years wasn't something we really shared. And so it's really, that's been an added blessing, as well as the connection to my dad in a beautiful way.
I think the key on all peace work is that community kind of way of being, and Francis modeled that for us. He didn't go it alone, he had all his brothers with him, and Claire was there, and they did it together. It's not about you, it's about going with others and sharing the experience, and that's what the Casa does. There's always an opportunity. So just the grace is to see the opportunity in all the things that are coming our way.
One of the great parts of being back is being able to return to the Casa.
This community, as I keep saying, is something special. It's welcoming and warm, and I learned from the priests here and the community that if you pray, you'll be heard. God is always listening, even when you can't speak for yourself. Sorry.
This place is important to me because it's a place of healing, it's a place of restoration and replenishment, and it's a place to really be connected to our community and to our God. It's just a beautiful place. So I'm home here.